doing it. You supposed to be happy you sitting there with Kid L. Why you mad?
The Kid L podcast.
Rock and roll and Mark Hicks is back in the building, man. Triumphant numbers, man. We see a lot of people tapping to all the talks that you're involved in with us, and social media posts go off, but also the full length episodes go wild too.
Yeah, man.
And I'm kind of mad that the first time we posted the interview between us, that your name wasn't in the beginning of the YouTube title, because when we posted it the second time, we put Mark Hicks, and even more people tapped in because they're like, "Yo, that's Mark Hicks. What the hell's going on?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I told our management team, I was like, "Yo, man, you could put Mark Hicks's name like right there. Like people know who he is." But recently, man, I seen that you unveiled some type of plaque, man. Can you talk about this new plaque that you received?
Oh, no. Well, what happened, man, that plaque is like, it was the Marshall Mathers album. And, moving and, and like I said, I said it even on the post, crazy girlfriends get mad about to leave you. They may kick it, or they may, it really stuff, art. So it travels, it travels with you. And it was this around where I live at, it was this lady who has a frame shop. And I went in there and I was like, yo, I was telling her like the Godfather, like when the Godfather brought Sonny, when he got shot up, and he told the mortician, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you fix my son up to make it presentable for the mother? And I came there where I said, look, I'm going to show you some different art. Some different plaques. And they jacked up. And she was like, oh, no problem. Yeah. So she came, the lady named Mary. She fixed. I gave her 2 already, and she picked the Eminem one that I showed. She did that one, and she's working on. I got a universal plaque, like from like the Erykah Badu. It was like a lot of different artists. It was a good year. It was like maybe like 99, 98.
Yeah.
And she's doing that one. So when I reveal that one, she going ham on that one.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So
what was your hands with Erykah's career?
Well, Erykah Badu is crazy because it was a guy named Kadar Massenberg, and he was a manager in the 80s and 90s, and then like typical music industry, you get sick of this shit. And he moved to South. He's a New Yorker, but he moved to Southfield and started working for AT&T, and he was just disinterested in the game. But then, story correct, he started messing with Erykah Badu, and he got passionate, and he went to some of his old connects, and he got a deal with his company, Kadar Entertainment, and that was like, she came from out of nowhere, and like, a lot of the viewers probably don't know, but Erykah Badu came like, it was like really, it was like on some, like how T Grizzly came out of nowhere, and like when he did that, First Day Out, it was like he just took over the game, and like T Grizzly, she had like this video on, and it was like, she came from nowhere. And I mean, I know she was probably hardworking because I think she's from Texas, but it was so crazy. So that was his interest in the game and Universal. And I started working with him on some different projects he had coming out.
Mostly marketing?
Yeah, marketing, man. It like, we was talking earlier, I consider myself like, and it's like when you say you in the mob, and like I'm what they call us record guys, because record guys is, you got to do whatever. And I don't know if you ever watched it was a show on HBO called Vinyl, and Vinyl was about the music business, and it just showed how them guys, hey, if you had to go get Coke 4 in the morning, you had to pick up an artist from whatever it took to get your record done. It wasn't like, oh, I just do social media, or oh, I just do this. No, the game was like, you do whatever it takes. Publicity. I mean, and then you have like certain people you hire as publicists or radio guys, but when you're a record guy, you handle all aspects of the game.
As far as marketing is concerned, at those times where it's do whatever it takes, I think some people try to obtain by that a little bit these days. But what lines Or was it harder for artists to cross or labels to cross when it came to like publicizing themselves? Was it ever like a deciphering moment where it's like, man, we shouldn't, like, this is gonna help us sell more, but this is kind of like crossing the line of our morality or of our own ethical standpoint?
Well, oh, wow. Well, you know what instantly popped to mind? You know, Russell Simmons, who's the founder of Def Jam. He had a nephew, right? And his nephew was into Esham, and he modeled his career under Esham, and he was doing the. Yeah, you know, Esham, like I said, we talked about him before. That's a cool brother. He is a friend. I still consider him a friend. We had our issues, but I like Esham. So Russell Simmons' nephew, he did the total Esham. And Esham, what people don't know about him is if you look at him in the whole picture, it ain't just devil worshiping. He comes with a whole concept. But Russell Simmons' nephew was on the devil rap. And so Russell Simmons signed him. But his album was called like Under Satan Authority. And he was like real. You could probably find it on YouTube. He was really out there.
That's dope.
And you talk about, and so Def Jam was like, they said, Russell, we can't do nothing with this damn album. You know, we know he's trying to model Esham from Detroit. We can't do nothing with it. So when you talk about certain borders, and I think too, this is a whole Def Jam story because you know the Ghetto Boys.
Yeah.
You know the Ghetto Boys, when they came out in the beginning, they had did a big deal with Warner Brothers, and it was a bidding war. But when Ghetto Boys like they first albums came out, you know, it was like just like a hot commodity in Houston. But when they came out and they were on Warner Brothers Records, the record stores couldn't consume it. They would be playing it in their stores, and the radio stations was like, "Oh my God, we can't do this."
Yeah.
So basically, Warner Brothers just said, "Look, we gave you guys a shitload of money, just leave us." And then what happened? Little J went over to, he went over to Priority Records where NWA, and Priority was like, "Oh, we'll hug you and we'll make you're good." And then that's when they came out with their smash international hit, "My Mind's Playing Tricks on You."
I love that song.
Yeah, and so that's how that. So sometimes when record companies thwart you, sometimes it's a blessing down the road.
Because they went somewhere else that was able to help propagate them and push them forward.
Yeah, well, Priority had NWA, Ice Cube, they had all type of crazy, and then it was like Priority was like, "Oh yeah, Warner Brothers don't want you guys. Oh no, it's cool." And then also to add to Warner Brothers, it was under David Geffen. And like I said, David Geffen is probably the richest man ever in the music business. So David Geffen had a deal with Warner Brothers. And then David Geffen, so he's got more money than God in the music business.
Wow.
And he's like, "Oh, you guys," and so he cut like, Rap-A-Lot Records a fucking extreme amount of money. And he's the only one that could do that, could be like, record stores is not feeling you guys, radio stations. So all that big money I gave you guys, just go have some fun with it. We can't do business no more.
Damn.
That's what really happened. And that's like, and then just they took their money over. They took the money, then they went over to Priority and just did My Mind Playing Tricks on You.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So man, yeah, the game is like, but the culture. What I don't get, man, is that it's hip hop, and this is what kind of I haven't, because man, I'm building Up North Heat. That's my that's my platform for Michigan artists that's about to drop any day. I mean, not any day, probably like later this month or earlier earlier September. But man, I love hip hop, but I hate how hip hop, especially we talking Michigan, is so constrained. People be like, "Oh, I shouldn't do this." You just gotta let hip hop be. Just let it, just be a jungle out there. And I think that's where we miss out on restrictions and stuff, and because it's like, just let it be, man.
Yeah, like I think because there's almost like a template for a Detroit rapper. Like, and if you don't qualify in those Detroit, like that, in that template for that Detroit rapper, you feel like you'll get X'd out. It's like, man, if I do this, I'm gonna get X'd out. If I do that, I'm gonna get X'd out. You feel like you're constrained, like you said. That's where somebody like Sada Baby comes along and really broke open those doors a little bit to be like, nah, man, you can be yourself. You can be wild. You can dance in your music videos. You can really shout at the camera. You can have this kind of ill temper, but at the same time be super humble and joyful at the same time. Like, and people were like, oh shit, you can be different and make it. That's cool. Let's do it. But for some reason that disappeared again. It's more people are more back to that constraint of just like, oh, I got to follow the formula.
Yeah. And you know, to me, and this is speaking from a veteran, the biggest hip hop news I loved this past few weeks was Cash Doll and her nail technicians. That's hip hop, man. Man, I love her cat. I mean, and I know it was just a disagreement over.
How is it hip hop?
It's hip hop because that shit went Shade Room, all the major hip hop. That shit blew up. That's hip hop, man. Arguing with a nail technician, or Huey beefing with Elon Musk, and you know what's that Tesla. I just think that's hip hop stories. I mean, it's about the music, and you gotta have music. But man, I was, you know, just I know you see it, but man, it's like 5,000 or 6,000 comments about Cash Down her nail technician. That shit is beautiful, man.
You think?
That's hip hop.
Is it?
Yeah,
you know more than me. You know more than me. Yeah.
Hip-hop, man.
You know more than me about that, because for me, when I seen it, I was kind of like, I was pissed off when I seen it, because I was like, you know, I looked at it from a soul perspective. I looked at it like, damn, this woman is here making false claims about Cash Doll for clout to build her company, but really, like, you're kind of hurting your brand, because now people who are of that stature are going to be less likely to come to you because you tried to put out, exploit the garbage. But in your mind, it's like, no, now she gets more awareness and Cash Doll gets more awareness. So both parties win, basically.
Man, I done watched that story so much. I mean, it's so funny because, you know, if Cash Doll, if it was like, say, like for instance, if it was Whitney Houston and she has this big mammoth record company, Arista Records, who was Whitney Houston record company, they would have came and squashed it, settled it. The publicist would have been like, "Oh, we're gonna sign a non-disclosure." But no, Cash Doll is like, "Fuck that."
Put it on the floor.
Yeah, she put it on the floor. She like, okay, you giving me work, I'm about to give you work. And man, I just think that's the real essence of hip hop. You know.
You're talking from a very marketing mindset. Like, you're very, like, this is about the numbers.
Cash Doll is talented, though. I mean, she got some bangers.
No, I'm not saying she's not.
No. I mean, I know you and her, y'all cool, but I'm just saying I never met the sister, but she's very talented, and I think she's going a lot of places. I love her in BMF and all of that. But
I appreciate your marketing aspect is what I'm saying. Like, you're thinking about the numbers. Like, you're thinking about the end result. Kind of like you said earlier, like, at the end of the day, are we converting? Are we converting fans? Are we converting streams? Are we converting more people to pull up the shows?
Right.
And it's like that awareness as a marketer, you love that shit. Like, and it's nothing enough where it hurts anybody's image enough where it's like, oh, fuck this person. It's more so like, all right, I can see both sides of this shit. I fuck with you both. Kind of like, I get it. Like, damn, you're a real night. Like, you got to look at that, man. Like, that girl's business is probably bigger now, even though she did that. And Cash Doll, I don't know how Cash Doll benefits from it. I guess she just gets free publicity because the story is so trendy that now her face is everywhere for free. Free marketing too, right? Like, somebody was, you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
Yeah.
I've been listening to Gary V a little bit lately, and he does say something very interesting about social media. If you create something that is good enough, everybody else will market it for you for free. Like, you don't gotta market it.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't gotta pay nobody.
Now, man, we are really vibing, because one thing I didn't like. Now, this is where it's a no-no, and you brought it up earlier, and this is where it goes full circle. I don't like when you bring up kids into the mix, because, you know, with her breaking up, and then they brought about school kids tuition, and it wasn't by far, you know, Cash Doll didn't start that, but, you know the person who brought it up, and it's just like, now that's a no-no. That's where you boundaries, when you bring it up. Them kids ain't got nothing to do with hip-hop. You know, the parents, you know.
Bro, that's all karma we're going to have to pay for one day. I think everything we put on social media, if it's not pure conscious and with the good intent, it's going to bite us in the ass one day. And I think when we put our kids, I'm not even talking specifically about anybody, but when you put your kids in the mix, now we're adding karma to their system. It's like they have their own platform, basically. Like, oh, I'm this person now. I got, you know, expectations, or people know who I am. People are seeing my face all the time. And then it's also like for the parents, it's like you're kind of exploiting them for your own clout, which is, I would feel bad about that as a parent. I'm not pointing out specific people. I'm just saying in general. I never like when people put their kids on the internet ever.
Well, and this is not. I'm not trying to burn bread on something, but as everybody know, me and Proof had a relationship. I mean, we was almost basically like we were running buddies, close friends, and it was a time, and I think Nassan kind of mentioned it on his IG lives and stuff. Well, when Nassan was so talented, I mean, he's talented, and he came up like under the rigors of just like pumping. And it was like, and when, Paul Rosenberg got a whiff of it, I got a whiff of it, Nassan kind of pulled me aside and said, I know you and my dad got history, but I just want to be Nassan. And he's like, me and my dad, because, he left, man, God, this Proof left when Nassan was like 7 or 8. And he had some internal issues, that he didn't even really express. I said, man, so I don't want you to, because I was on Instagram and Facebook like, oh, this is Proof's son and he's the next and y'all got to and Nassan was like, I got some issues that I want to deal with internally and don't do. So I just said, you know what? It was almost like the kid teaching the adult. And I said, you know what? And I thought about it, and I was gonna like talk to him about it. I was like, I was gonna kind of rebut what he said, but then when he said it and I thought about it, that's deep as hell. That's some intelligent thought. And now current day, he mentions his dad and he puts up posts like I always put, because I have a different relationship, with his, that's his dad. And and so I put up stuff like, Proof album, just his only album, and, came out 20 years ago Friday. And so I posted a heartfelt. Nassan wouldn't understand what I was doing, because, because I met Proof, like we went to different high schools, but it was always like he wanted to be a star. So it took for that album, it hit different from me and Nassan.
Yeah.
So it was like, man, we were like driving like down the floor. I mean, it took amalgamation of stuff to get to Proof to where he's going. And Proof is very talented, bro. I mean, he's very talented, but it took a lot. So when I seen that album, when the album came out, man, tears came to my eye. And then, like 8 months later, he's no longer, he got murdered. So, but that album was like kind of a centerpiece of my career.
Yes.
And so that it deeper meaning. So, so that's what I'm saying. So yeah, when you talk about kids and hip hop, it's a very deep, very deep situation.
It depends how much karma you're willing to build within yourself and for your child when you put them on there and stuff like that. But with Nassan, it is a difficult situation because the expectations are ginormous, and it's like, I'm sure everybody thinks he's like this gateway to other people.
Right.
So it's almost like you're in a kind of weird spot. Like you didn't earn some of the stuff that you're granted with.
Right.
But it's like you want to earn it though. You want to earn people's respect and viewership, not off of your dad's name, but off of and what you can offer to people. But just off the fact that you want to be a real artist.
Right.
But totally contrary though, if you look at like him and his dad, like two different people.
Oh, they two different. I see. You know what? It's crazy because Proof eldest son, Deshaun. I see every all the Proof kids he has, they all got a little piece of him, and I do see some different things. But like of course, he doesn't do drugs, and we were all, I can just point and Proof, we were all like drug induced. We were having fun like a motherfucker, and like Nassan is he's just a nice guy, but he wants to keep to his he's very eclectic. And he wants to keep his, but Proof was the type that, man, he would like, when you go out, he would hang out. We would hang out, man. We would create a party anywhere.
Yeah.
And so Nassan is definitely not like that. It's like, because it was one time, man, Proof, we had to go up to Lansing to do some corporation work. He wanted to start a new corporation. And so we go up there, and they tell us like it'll be an hour before the corporation is finished, So we look, and it's a strip club in Lansing. And don't you know that we turned the whole day into like a strip club party. We was like, oh man, we had to like literally, we forgot about because we turned this whole little small strip club into a big ass party.
Yeah.
And that's the type of shit that was like a typical day for Proof and me. So yeah, man, it's
more
like,
outgoing and just like
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
man.
dope, man.
But yeah, but
It's
But you brought up something though, wait, man. You brought up some deep stuff, and this is not contrived with me and Kidell. We just kicking it, right? But you brought up something deep, hip hop and karma.
Right.
That is a deep.
I think we
Oh my
even
God.
me, like I've noticed it lately. I'm like I'm giving up. I'm accumulating so much karma by being involved in hip hop to the degree that I'm involved in it. So much, even with like. Not even sometimes it's not even that it's not even if you're doing something wrong. Karma doesn't just come because you're doing something wrong. I think karma just comes because your intent behind something and the way that it transforms to what it becomes. It's like sometimes you're doing something with one reason and then you realize, well, there's 100 other reasons why this is not a good idea, but there's one reason why this is a good idea and why you must do something in order to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're like always kind of combating those ideas. Like, man, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do this? And then you're just sitting there as a person. It's almost like two separate identities, right? It's like your personal life. And then you go out to do something that puts you in a certain light and makes you accumulate so many things. And then you have to bring that back home to yourself. And you're like kind of sitting at home like, holy shit, man, I was just in the hood doing this and this and this and this and this. And I'm not even that fucking type of person right now. Like, I've grown out of that, but you're there still. Like you're in those situations. I remember times being on where I was just like, man, this is not like people with AK-47s, Dracos chilling, like drugs moving, like whatever the situation is. And you're just sitting like, man, you go home, you're like, man, that's not me for real anymore. Like that's not me anymore.
We might have to have like Oprah or Vanna Van Zant right here because, man, just to get on that, one of my business mentors, and I talked to him, his name is Ken. He likes to stay out of the limelight, but I'm going to say his name, Ken, and I'm not going to go no further. But he said some stuff. He was like, you got to go back to what settled you, right?
Yeah.
And I explained that. I said, what settled you? And I remember, man, because like myself, I've had a blessed life, but I haven't had kids. But the problem is that my first interaction, I had like puppy love high school, but I got in the game when I was 18. So really, back then, strip clubs was the place you break records. And all my first girlfriends were strippers. And imagine, and I'm sitting there, and I come from a beautiful, my parents was together for a long time, and I'm like, I don't want to have kids right now because with strawberry, just saying, like, I don't, and so I was settled, and it kind of fucked up my future relationships because who settled me, and when I say settled, it was like, who taught you how to eat or who taught you to pick clothes, and it's, it comes like from your parents, or who taught you whatever, who to drive, that's who settled you. And I'm like, and I started thinking back and my first dating and going to expensive ass restaurants, like, the Rattlesnake and all of that, or those big, I was taking strippers because that's the proximity was badass girls, and that like kind of that fucked my head up for me dating. Now I'm in a different zone. I'm like it's
I still struggle with that to this day.
Oh man,
when I was like in celebrity mode, because I'm in a relationship now, but when I was in like celebrity, like I was like on fucking fire mode.
Yeah,
I was hooking up with 4 women a night at one point. And these are not strippers. These are literally just like girls that I would fucking just pull because I had social media. You didn't have that shit. Shit's easier when you got that blue check and all that, those numbers and shit. So I was banging girls every fucking day, bro. Like there was points where I was literally fuck a girl at the hotel, drive to this one girl's house, drive to this other girl's back's house. Now this other girl's pulling up to the hotel. I got to make sure I get back there in time to fuck that girl. And I was like, that circuit was crazy. And it messes with your dopamine levels. It breaks your dopamine levels. So when you get in a relationship, you're kind of like, what's happening? Like, I don't know how to place myself or how to relax or how to be still. But that's building a bunch of karma in your system when you're banging all these people. But damn, man, shit.
It's karma, man. It's just so, dude. We also, this is a real ass conversation because that plays a part. And like I said, when I was really serious about the Cash Out, but everything in hip hop, karma is in hip hop.
Oh yeah.
And when you talk about settling all of that, and I'm so glad, like I could imagine. And I thought about what karma was like. I was in my 20s and I would have like kids, and that shit would have haunted me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember how the beautiful childhood my parents gave me. Because both my parents were from the South, and they had their ways, but they like really raised. It was 7 of us, and so my mom had some kids, my dad had some kids, but I'm talking about the whole family, and everybody was perfect, but I was thinking, I can't do that with strawberry or cinnamon shakes. I can't do that, and I thought about, and I'm so glad I didn't have kids, and I probably still want to have kids. I do, but now I'm at a subtle, I like to call it my nirvana, like, people I deal with, and, and I nothing but nice women. I don't have a women. Just a woman. I just have like I concentrate on that, and it's so much more peaceful.
I swear, peace is everything, bro.
Yeah, because those guys, the first who do everything on your show, and I know it's fun, but them first guys, that might come to haunt them one time,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that karma, and because hip hop, man, it ain't just about music; it's a culture.
Yes.
The Coney Island, the we hang. I mean, everything, the stylish clothes we wear, the Cartiers. That's all about hip hop. Is a culture,
being
man.
Being valid is a part of the culture. It's a big part of the culture. I use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Are you in a rush to bounce?
No, I'm cool. I'm chilling, man.
We're back. Man, did I cut you off on something, or did we kind of finish off that karma note?
That's the karma.
Yeah, that karma's crazy, right? Yeah, man. Yeah. I do look at that. I think hip hop and rap. I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. It's an interesting time because the accessibility has obviously been here for a while. Social media is giving accessibility to every single person that wants a chance at becoming an artist or an entertainer to any significance. So there's a surplus and a saturation of just people overloading our screens on a day-to-day basis. Some people stand out. Some people, they get buried under the marketing from others. What's the respect level of kind of what you said earlier about people only utilizing social media to propagate themselves as far as artistry is concerned? Because I know earlier you kind of said like all you're doing is social media, you're not really doing anything else.
Right.
And can you kind of give an example from your past time to what it took versus now what people thinks it takes to make it as an artist?
Well, it takes a village because it kind of like circles back to what we were saying also, because it was like I told you, I consider myself a record guy. One of my dear friends, like I do what I did in Detroit, but in Washington D.C., it's a brother by the name of Ducky U, right? And Ducky U was doing the same thing I was doing, but he had a doorway where he had got EA Sports started fucking with him.
Damn.
And he he was still doing his own business, but he was like one of the gatekeepers of EA Sports, and that's with the man and all that. So he was like doing promotions, for EA Sports, but he was also like helping with the music too. So that's another outlet. And I'm thinking hip hop, we gotta expand the horizon. It's gonna take a village. It's gonna take like the Kid L's. It's gonna take like the Detroit Rap Days. It's gonna take all of them guys, like the Detroit Rap News. It's like, in order, hip hop, like you're right, it's getting very, very granular. It's like it's not gonna survive, especially Michigan. Because you think like, say like for instance RMC Mike, he comes out of Flint. Him and Rio has a lot of reach because I see Rio was at the Nike headquarters, so he's gaining. But you think like when an artist come out, how are they going to promote the record? They only got so many different, back in the day you had every type of different aspect, because you could go to you could go to Ducky U, like I was saying, at EA Sports, or he was like, but he also was doing marketing, like he's a record guy, but he also was, it was like the different aspects of different things. You're gonna need that in hip hop, man. You can't, we're not gonna survive. And I know like our last interview, you know, on one of our clips, you know, people was like, oh man, when I was like, Michigan hip hop is in the hospital.
Yeah.
Or just Michigan rap, the music scene, because we are so narrative and we try and like hate on each other, and it's no way out. You really think like when an artist is like, and I do this all the time when I play rhetorical. I was like, okay, you got an album coming out. What's the 5 things you're gonna do for your album to come out? And I was like, and don't tell me you're gonna send a link and you're gonna post it. You're gonna ask people to post on your page. What is 5 or 10 serious steps you're going to do?
Yes.
Because, you know, from my era, and I don't want to be that old school Mark, but, you know, we were breaking Biggie, OutKash. It was a syllabus. Like, you know, it was like, you know, it was like 30 things they could do. They would be like, oh, we're going to do a barbershop tour or whatever. And God forbid you talk about an artist like TLC, because, you know, TLC and OutKash, you know, the R&B group, they was on the same label. So it may have been 20 pages for OutKash. I'm just being figuratively, but you know, TLC, who can expand more, they probably had 40 pages.
Yes.
And it's a symphony, man, and you just can't, because once again, you get an artist out, and what steps they're gonna do to build their audience.
The only thing I can think of is why people don't do it as much is because the people who do the groundwork and actually find creative outlets to market themselves realize that the shaking hands aspect is so minuscule compared to the numbers of just going on social media and media platforms and promoting that way. It's like if they're like, oh, we're getting like 10 million streams collectively over the internet versus when we do the street stuff, it costs us way more money and it only meant like 20,000 people. And we don't even know if those people convert or not. I think, like, I don't know if that's how they're thinking or if this new generation is just like, nah, social media is just the way. Like, fuck all the other shit.
Well, too, now, I got to be real. It's now reality got to kick in, too, Kid L. Now, in this time, it's scary out there. Because, man, I got beat up yesterday, like, because Metro Detroit News was talking about like that lady who got hit on the, you know, she was trying to fix her tire on 696, and she got, you know, a car killed her. And I just made a comment, and I said, man, Detroit is, it's like I said Detroit is the music, it's the background of Final Destination. Because you think people getting stabbed, and I wasn't being humorous, because I was like, and man, kid, I got 2 people wanting to fight me, and I got like 1,000 likes and I just put Detroit is turned into Final Destination. I wasn't being funny. I be funny sometimes on my posts, but it's like, it's wild out here. And so when you take an artist like, you could even say V's, or you could say Rio, or you could say the artist that's just trying to build. In order for them to get out here, it's dangerous out here. Just really living. It ain't about just like, you know, you go to a club, you can't even go to a pool party, you can't go nowhere without thinking about getting shot, stabbed. I went to this food festival, and man, I had my head on a swivel this past weekend, because so you got to put that in, you got to add that, you got to base stuff on a curve with these artists, because it is a dangerous times out here.
Yeah, with that post, we had a lot going on. The McDonald's stabbing happened. There was like a Taco Bell thing. There was people getting babies, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's like, we are like really like, you know, it's Michigan, and you know, people's like, oh man, you don't know shit. It happened on 696 in Warren, and you know, and I'm not in. I don't play all that, you know, that weird like the Detroit. It's like it's Detroit. And I'm just saying, just in Detroit, it's fucked up out here, you know. So but
I remember when Hutch passed away, it was crazy because everybody thought that Hutch had gotten killed by somebody from Detroit. And I hated that because I was like, can you just wait? Can we just wait before we say somebody like Detroit? And then it ended up being somebody nothing to do with nothing with Detroit. And I was like, all right, thank you. Like, relax, bro. You don't have to just assume everything right away just because he operates out there. But I get what you're saying, though, man. Like, it's the artists have a lot to work with, and I think they utilize it to some degree. I think it's the sounds that they I talked to Icewear Vezo about this. I had Icewear Vezo on the couch and I was like, man, I listened to every single one of your albums. And I was like, I noticed the consistency in the sound. It doesn't change too much. Like when I'm listening to a Vezo song, I know it's a Vezo song. I was like, are you planning on like trying different things? And he basically said, bro, if it's not broke, don't fix it. He's like, if I'm making money doing it this way, I'm not going to change it. And I think a lot of artists take that approach. They're too scared to jump out of the box and try something different. And it's holding them back to some degree, for sure. It's holding back their ability to conquer the mainstream or break into the mainstream at a high significance. I think most of the top tier Detroit rappers teeter-totter between mainstream and underground. Like in that, that line where you're kind of like, you can talk with the mainstream, you mess with the mainstream, but you're always going back and forth between the underground and mainstream. Like if you use somebody like Big Sean, for example, right? Big Sean skyrocketed to the mainstream and then just kind of tapped in with Detroit to show love. Mm-hmm. But he didn't have to do that. He was just messing with his people, but he was mainstream. Like he doesn't have to be like, oh, I got to go do some shit that I don't want to do, or I got to dip back in real quick and come back. Like you notice a lot of these mainstream or these mainstream Detroit underground rappers, I know it's funny to say, but they teeter-totter. It's like, I got to tap in with the city because I need to get this paper. And then I go to mainstream and I might get chewed up for that week, so I can't really just stay there all the time. Right. They can't stay in the mainstream all the time. They have to come back, basically, is what I'm saying.
But Kid L, and I know I got, my contemporaries and people of my age range, I got kind of little, it kind of came at me, but I think the elders in hip hop is really responsible for it. Because, when you asking questions, when I was like, like I said, I was talking about brothers like Ducky U, and I was talking about like Renee McLean and how he has $1 billion, he raised $1 billion to buy catalogs of Khaled and Future and Little Durk. I mean, we have more of an expansive mind state. And I think that the modern, like the Vezos and them, they are like limited because I don't know. I think the elders got to come in and show it's more broader minds. And I'm not trying to run all over the place, but I even think our education system in America, it's like we are just so narrowed down. And in hip hop, you got to find other ways to do this, because it's an old saying. Like I love all religions, but like I've been reading about Judaism, and it's like they say something like, if you don't create a person, if you don't create nothing, you are creating a thief. So if you don't give no agenda to a person, they ain't gonna do nothing but, be in sin. And I think that we need to show like different things, like maybe like you mentioned Hutch, and I'm just freestyling here. I mean, maybe Hutch and them could do like something to do like a plan or something, like to be, they hip hop, but maybe like, I don't know. And I know some of them got their own Instagram pages. I just think in order for this hip hop and success and money to still flow through, we got to get creative with it.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Not going to work just being
Yeah. But you also have to look at it. Did some artists just kind of hit their peak and they can stay consistent with that flow that they got? Like they got their fan base. They know their fan base is going to stay subscribed. Think about this, right? Every major artist from Detroit has done features with magnificently bigger artists, mainstream levels. Future is one of the artists that people tap in with. Kodak Black, people have worked with that.
Right.
E40. People are tapping in with these high caliber mainstream rappers. I think that's their way of extending their network. Like, okay, right? Obviously it is. I'm going to do this feature with this person. This person is going to get me bigger and bigger and more awareness. But how much bigger are they really getting? Like, and are people just not consuming the sounds? Like, you got to think about that factor, right? Like, because what does it take to make a hit? Like, why are we seeing so many hits, like real hits from everywhere else? You know what I'm saying? Like real hits from everywhere else. Like, what's the last big hit to come from Detroit?
Well, man, I always get in trouble. I get in trouble on everything. But I say this. I do think Michigan hip hop, I'm not saying the artists, the managers, I think it's a gumbo of it. They're cheap. I do see that. And this is like, I mean, I've been a part of $1 million projects where they, it's over the turn. But I think nowadays artists, they, you tell them like something would cost $5,000, they have a heart attack. And then with that is now with the record companies, there's no, a lot of them guys have got laid off. Like most of my close friends that I've done business with forever and a day, they're independent now. It's a guy, when you bring up Kodak Black, a guy by the name of Sam Crespo. He was head of rap at Atlantic Records. So he's the one who broke Kevin Gates, Kodak Black. He was the big head honcho at Atlantic Records. He's no longer there. I think they, I don't know if it was retirement or whatever. He's no longer there no more. So you got a brain that can, a marketing guy that knows how to break records from, he's been breaking, he was at Atlantic Records for like 20 years. He was a vice president. And when you have those brains go, then, and then the artists, they get integrated and be like, Sam Crespo will probably see a $50,000 invoice because he knows it's the greater, the sum is greater than the parts on this particular thing. But now you got artists, they be over their budget. And they're like, I'm not paying $5,000 for no publicist.
Yeah.
And that plays, man, that.
But I do want to say that's the whole, I think me and you talked about this last time. The concept of social media being a free marketing tool that can help gauge how significant your content is, like your song, for instance, right? So let's just say I Swear Vezo does a song with Future, humongous, right. One of the biggest artists in the world, Future, right? If I Swear Vezo doesn't quadruple in fandom after that, he doesn't quadruple in his fans, it doesn't quadruple in his streams,
right?
You question, is it that the sound is just not mainstream enough, or is the sound not broad enough to gain massive amounts of followers? So do you blame the sound at the end of the day? Because the marketing is it's not there like you're saying where they're pushing it and they have management teams pushing it, marketing teams pushing the song. But do you look at it and go like, well, the proof and the concept is the response from the audience that got to see it? Because it's right there. It's on social media. Like we all have access to it. We can all listen to it and decide, do we become an I Swear Vezo fan now or not?
Well, you bringing up a good one, man. I'm not going to be long-winded on this one, but it's funny. We was talking about Proof album, and the Proof album name was Searching for Jerry Garcia, right? Yeah. And what the public, like the youngins, don't know, Jerry Garcia was the founder. He was one of the founders of this group called Grateful Dead, and you can look it up, Grateful Dead. Now, see, Grateful Dead, and this goes back to what this is going to answer your question. And Grateful Dead was this. They were like this wild group from the 70s, and they wanted people to they would give out free music. Mm-hmm. But you know what? They was making just as much money as the Rolling Stones, or I wouldn't say the Beatles, but the thing, and so that's why, and this is all documented, like I wanted D12 to be not just like when Eminem moved, D12 got to move. I wanted them to have their own island. We love living on the Eminem island because everybody was making shitloads of money, but we wanted to where if and this is what I thought, and my partner Rico Shelton, we had the same sentiment. It's like if M say, hey, I'm going to take a break for 2 years, what will D12 do? So we got to take a break for 2 years? That's, if M, he's his own man. So I came up with, and like I said, I'm always, one of my hobbies is studying, and I started looking at the Grateful Dead because, man, the Grateful Dead, they would book their own shows. They were like the founders of this independent, the Grateful Dead. Now, and if you got some scholars that's watching me, they were signed to Warner Brothers, but they had it where they did what they wanted to do. They would be like, we're gonna be at Belle in Detroit. And it would take them 3 weeks. They'd be like, we're going to do a concert at Belle Isle. And they would pay Belle Isle, and he would have thousands of people there. So I started studying that. And one time I was watching a documentary, and Proof came over my house. He was like, man, what you watching? What you watching about the Grateful Dead? And then I started telling him what type of time I'm on. And he started like really, and that's why he was like, man, you know what? That's right. And, Proof, like he gives me my props, even in, Rolling Stone and all the articles. You can even look on Google. He was like, yeah, Mark Hicks kind of sparked me to get the Grateful Dead. And that's when you bring it, like, let's bring it home to Vezo. Maybe Vezo can't be on radio. He can't be a radio darling, but Vezo might come up with a concept of like, and I'm not trying to lowbrow it, but he may be like do a 40 city car show across the country, or go to all the dispensaries across the country and do a concert. So maybe his concept may be like, I'm not angling for, I'm not going to be a star of, Live Nation or what is that? I forgot. They always change names to radio stations. He may not be that. He may not be like a radio darling, like Taylor Swift, but he may be, and that's what was happening with the Grateful Dead versus the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones were radio darlings. And Eve, like Earth, Wind, and Fire was radio darlings, but they were just making just as much or probably even more. So you just gotta find, and that's hip hop,
Yes.
Shit, that's what he's got, and it takes, that takes management, that takes the label, getting the concept, and being like, okay, we're gonna do this with the situation. And while I'm on it, I said I wasn't gonna be long winded, but one of my mentors, Paul Stewart, he had a big management company where he was managing Coolio, he was managing Farside, Montel Jordan was on his label. I mean, he had so many artists. And I asked him one time, he's from LA, and I was hanging with him at his office. I said, Paul, I got a question to ask you. I was like, what makes you most money in a month? Because I was just starting to get into management. He was like, lighter shade of brown. And most people, 98% of people don't know who Lighter Shade of Brown is. It was this Spanish group. It was this hip hop Spanish group. And they would do car shows all across California. And you see what I'm saying? And he was making, so you talk about all these major artists. He was making so much money off of Lighter Shade of Brown.
Yes. If you strategize some type of marketing plan for your artist in a way it doesn't always have to be mainstream radio. It doesn't always, like you said, radio darling. It doesn't always have to be in front of your face. There's ways to strategize it to make tons of money. Which you do wonder if these guys are doing it and we just don't see it, but
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, but back to that, my voice was, I had to get some water. My voice was getting kind of hoarse, but I'm saying that what Paul Stewart was saying was they could go like in the Spanish culture, they would get a feel like Lighter Shade of Brown would get like California have so many bricks, and they would get a feel kind of like Coachella, like in that area, they would get a big field, and Lighter Shade of, it was only two of them. It was only two members of Lighter Shade of Brown, but they had a Spanish population, so they would get a field, and they could get 10,000 people there.
Wow.
They probably only had one radio hit record, but they could get 10,000 people, and you got like, hey, come spend $10 parking, $5. You think 10,000 people, that's all. And merchandise, Lighter Shade of Brown was doing shows where they were personally making $150,000 a show.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And you like, okay, and maybe Vezo, and like like shit, we talk about Cash Doll on the channel. Like, I love Cash Doll, man. Maybe she should do like a hair salon, hair show across America. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's like some shit where that's hip hop. You just can't be like, okay, I'm just gonna do a show at Little Caesars, and you just gotta expand the horizon.
Yeah, the exclusivity factor that everybody tries to uphold to is probably butchering a lot of their profits and a lot of their popularity. I fall to it sometimes too. I'll be like, somebody will be like, come to this show and that show and that show. I'm like, man, I can't just be pulling up to any fucking show, bro. But like at the same time, it probably would be better for me if I knew how to conduct it properly. I could make it bigger than me showing up to all these events. I could make each event special in its own way if I properly marketed what I'm going to do at each show, or how I'm going to handle it, how we're going to document it, and how we're going to produce it content-wise, and all these things. Get people aware of me, handshakes, and all those types of things. So I do get what you're saying 100%, man. I think a lot of people they made a lot of fucking money, and to get to the next point, they're trying to figure it out. But also, they're also not trying to figure it out either, because it's hard to, man. It's so hard to think, like, what do I do? How do I break? That's where somebody like you comes in hand.
Right.
Where it's like, yo, you don't know what the fuck to do. I'll tell you what the fuck to do. And even if you do know what to do, I'm going to tell you how to quadruple your idea and make it
exactly.
better.
But you know what's really funny, and I'm not trying to bite. I'm not trying to bite my hand, but I do notice the hip hop. I mean, the rappers in Michigan is starting to get quiet because everybody used to saying, I'm not going to say no names. They know who they are. Everybody would be like, man, M got all that fucking money and he don't do nothing for the city. Now, those same guys are driving Benzes and all that. I mean, now they can help. They're making adequate amount of money. And it always would be like, man, M just sitting on his damn throne and all that wads of cash. Now it's like, okay, now the tables have turned. I bet you it's like 10 artists, and I'm not naming names, but 10 artists. I see they got nice ass houses, they got nice ass Teslas. They living a life. They are living. And I'm not trying to be a pocket watcher, but they could do some of the stuff. They could buy a venue, like they could literally buy a venue in Michigan and do something.
And that's another thing, not to keep bringing back Vezo's name, but that's an interesting that he did.
Shout out to Vezo.
He's a part owner in a Backwoods and Bonfires.
Yeah, that is culture, and you can't really, like in this, I mean, he's got to be extracted out of this because he's not one of them, but I'm saying it's like some of the rappers. Now that's what I'm talking about. Create your own festival. Yeah. You know, I mean, like, you know, the Sister Chanel, she's doing stuff like she's trying to create. I know she gets a lot of backlash from, you know, politics and stuff, but you know, like I said, it's some of these rappers, and it's not about fucking you know, everybody knows the cannabis industry is on his deathbed.
Oh, it's dying.
Yeah. So don't be talking about I'm doing it. No, invest in something. Invest in a venue. I mean, to keep it real with you, radio stations going for pennies on the dollar.
You got to remember though, man, it's people aren't showing up as the problem. Like that's the whole core of everything that we're talking about is it's kind of what I was saying earlier. Is the sound working? Because the sound gets views on YouTube. I'm sure they get their stream numbers. Right. But sometimes you'll pull up to shows and there's nobody there or not a significant amount of people there, or they have to open up for bigger people, like these Detroit shows where Chris Brown will pull up or whatever the case might be pulls up. It's like one of our main Detroit rappers will be opening up for that. And it's like, shouldn't people be opening up for you? And you kind of wonder, is like, okay, is the sound selling or not? Like you really just have to question, is the Detroit sound selling? That's what it is. Are these guys selling? Is Baby Money selling? Is Ice Boy Vezo selling? Is Sada Baby selling? Is, you know, Skilla Baby selling? Are they selling to the magnitude where the sound is being accepted by tens of millions of people?
Well, man,
and that's what you gotta ask. Okay, because you know, Mark, you come from an area where like all the people that you talk about that you helped build were like kind of superstars, bro. Like if you really think about that, if you're talking about OutKash, you're talking about Eminem, right? If you're talking about Erykah Badu, you're talking about people that like these are superstars. Like these are
to God be the glory.
Yeah.
And that
These
wasn't
are
like
anomalies.
No, but I done had a hell of a lot of dogs. I got like
who did you take from? It was rough and it was hard to like find a market for them, but you found a market for them. Who was like the hardest, most difficult task for you? I'm sure Proof was difficult for sure.
Oh, well, Proof was difficult, but you know, man, it just like the Eminem explosion, man. That's like, it's like you cannot, when he exploded, man, it was like on some superhero Marvel shit. Because when he exploded, the whole world, I mean, it was just like everybody was on court. And I'm gonna answer your question, but I really think it is such a division with people my age range. They hate. They don't become fans. You know, because man, it was one of my boys, man, Tito 6. He's a rapper. He's from Flint, but he's one of my dogs. And he said this. I remember one time I was talking shit about Young Thug, right? Because it was like when it was like he was just wearing dresses. And I had never heard none of his music. I just became a hater of Young Thug, right? And my boy Tito, he was like, Mark, I gotta stop it. He was like, you talking shit about Young Thug, and have you heard any of his records? I said, nah. But I was like, man, he said, man, look, you need to listen to him.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm one of the biggest Young Thug fans. I love Young Thug. Man, I be like, man, Young Thug can do no wrong. Like, I really like just listen to it. But I was just coming from my age range of, of rap and all of this, and he's not big as Biggie, and he's not Andre Thought. But then Tito, my boy Tito, man, I thank him every day for this. Man, he really I opened up. So the back to your question is it's some people my age that they just don't like. You can even look on Facebook, guys of my my counterparts in my age range, they ain't gonna give Vezo peace. And I mean, these guys got some incredible records.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like man, Vezo, that's still in my what was that one? ASL. It was he had a song ASL. And man, that's still a banger to me. I played that a few days ago.
PZ got 2 mil up.
That's what I'm saying. And so my point is, would you ever see somebody with my age or a little bit younger than me supporting Vezo? Because they brains are, they got a fucking cement wall.
Yes.
And that's fucked up. And that stunts PZ and V's and because V's, man, V's is very creative, but guys my age, I'm not fucking with him. Fuck that. I'm gonna just listen to some EPMD or some Frankie Beverly or I'm gonna just listen to some stupid, it's not stupid, but they're not even gonna listen to a Babyface Ray record, and that stunts Babyface Ray fan base. Cause in all, man, my mom wasn't man, fuck Biggie, cause man, I'm just gonna listen to, Patti LaBelle. No, she wasn't a Biggie fan, but she didn't embrace it. But my elders, who was my mom and my pops and my friends and family, they family, they wasn't going purposely hating on Biggie. But now you got people, they are shit. Like I tell some of my friends, I was like, man, name me you talking all this shit about Peasy and all this and T Grizzly. Name me 4 T Grizzly songs. They can't name them. They don't even they automatically think, man, fuck new Detroit rap, fuck Michigan rap, fuck Rio. And me, myself, I'm a hip hop fan and I have an open ear.
Yes.
And
well, you know how it is when we were growing up, everybody, your parents are saying what you listen to is bullshit. They thought what they're listening to is fire. And then when we grew up, we're kind of doing the same thing as our parents. It's we look at
but they don't purposely go out of their way. Oh, yeah,
man. They didn't go out of their way.
They go to their way. I mean, it's people who, even DJs, and you a fucking DJ. I got friends that's DJs that they haven't heard one fucking Detroit song, or it's just garbage.
Yeah.
They are so narrow-minded, and it's but dude, you're supposed to be don't you want to be on the radio, and don't you want... No, man, it's that's stupid as fuck.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time for people's palates, right? What they're consuming, what they want to consume. People are going all the way opposite of even making music to almost kind of parodying music now, where it's they're just saying random shit. I talk about Miles a lot, but Miles is the most confusing person I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if you ever heard of this cat.
Yeah, I mean, Kanye, yeah.
Hey, this song Kanye.
Yeah.
It's
what? He's very, I got to in a note too, that, with this up north heat, it's going to be primarily new Michigan wave. And me and you've talked many times about it. So I'm up on all of them, Yeah, so yeah, he's very, and you see how Kanye, which, I'm not a big fan of Kanye nowadays, but Kanye, looked at the kid, he embraced, Miles. He's wait a minute, that guy he got some crazy shit. And, this is Kanye, a hip hop legend who won 20 Grammys, but he can embrace. He's yeah, my daughter fuck with it. That's okay, cool.
Do you think Miles would have survived in the 90s? Like, do you think the 90s hip hop heads would be like, yeah, Miles, like you work, this shit works.
Oh wow, man.
I think they were too critical back then.
Yeah, he would have been in the Source, or would he would have been on MTV Rap. But it was counter that, because with Vanilla Ice, and I'm not shocked, because
Vanilla Ice though he made decent music, like he made like decent hip hop.
No, but I'm saying though, a lot of hip hop, like the Source or like Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, they purposely was shitting on him. But you know what? Then that's why we had Video Jukebox. And it was like he got his message. It was some way, somehow he got his messages across. So if a label had invested in Miles, they probably would have found a creative way to break him. Because the guy be like, he's like doing boundaries. He's breaking boundaries.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, he will do shit that, like, when, like, I've been in studios with artists and they'll just be fucking around, like, trying to get a mic check. He's doing it, and it's like he's putting it on Spotify with that hot yodeling and all that. And it's like, that was some outtakes artists I knew would have just fucking around, But he's doing it, and he's Jimmy Kimmel, not Jimmy. What's the night show? Jimmy Fallon. Yeah,
I didn't know he was on there.
He was playing. Yeah, he was.
God.
I mean, he play. Yeah, he did a video clip, and he like had his album. Yeah,
it's so wild, man. It's so wild. So opposite of hip hop.
Jimmy Fallon says he's a fan of his.
I mean, I was one of the first people to find. I was one of the first people to promote him when I first heard him. And then Cash Doll reposted my clip of him, and it went like 4 or 5 million views. Which was crazy. Yeah. Because I knew when I seen it, I was like, this is so fucking weird. This was like 3 years ago. I was like, this is so fucking out of here. And everybody fucking tuned in. They're like, who is this guy now? And then all of a sudden, Kanye West. I want to talk about.
So wait a minute, you mean to tell me Cash Doll is about to make a millionaire out of Miles and a nail technician?
You feel me?
She is incredible. Love Cash Doll.
Yeah, man. She's super out there with everything, man.
What was you saying?
I wanted to ask you, every single time we talk about some of the marketing strategies behind you, I don't know if you look at your TikTok numbers, but they go insane. We talked about the Biggie Smalls, the Big Mac deal,
right,
and how that was strategized. Was there any other things that you remember marketing for, and like unique marketing aspects that you did?
Ooh, man, you're talking about my career, but you're talking about my whole career. But no, this is like, oh man, I gotta like, it's so many in the arsenal. Man, it was oh man, okay. Let me just give something to just come off the top of my head. The way OutKash, and once again, OutKash didn't come out and they weren't millionaires. It was like, their song "Players Ball" was a Christmas song. That's when you hear the bells and shit. So the sleigh bells. Yeah. It was a Christmas song. But then like we started getting buzz because it was a street team. Because I was on the Detroit. I was heading the Detroit street team. But then you had 20 other cities across America, like the land, and everybody's like, "Yo, y'all did this Christmas song for OutKash, but this is a hit." So then so basically LaFace Records, they repurposed it, and then they made it where we did these packs where it was like incense, dice, and they just gave us like maybe like 10,000 dice, and we promoted like it's a players ball. So it was like it wasn't like no Christmas ball. That's what they was trying to at the beginning, but then they said, yo, this is a players record. And so that whole marketing concept, I remember Missy. Now this is when she had her hit records, her first album, but she came with her second album, and her song was called "She's a Bitch," and so you had all these brothers, like myself, and we was putting stickers out and big billboards talking about she's. So we caught it was less political then, but. So so it was different things, and like Little Kim, she came with like a sexy, like a sluttish way, but so it was different kind of marketing trends and we would embrace it. But man, I gotta really think. It was so many creative marketing, and once again, it's so sad that a lot of the guys have passed on. Like rest in peace, like Fat Man Scoop. It's just so many different like marketing guys who was like they were like the brains at the record industry, but they gone on.
Who was somebody? Did you ever get to work with somebody only for a short amount of time that ended up becoming like a success?
A short amount of time.
Yeah. Did you ever like just do some small work where it was like, all right, I'm gonna be a part of this, but I still got to get back to like the other things?
Oh man, it was a short amount of time was which I love was I would say with Rap a Lot. I did some they had signed the deal because they was Jay Princeton bullshit. He was like these NBA players. Like you would get a max deal, and once that max deal was out, so he jumped around. So it was he went to this entertainment company called Virgin Records, and I was working with I worked for Rap a Lot a very short amount of time. Like I worked on his album, a Scarface album. I worked on a couple of Scarface albums. I worked on some Ghetto Boys albums.
Love Ghetto Boys, man.
Do or Die. It was a short amount of time, but Rap a Lot was so fun to work for, because they were like, they had, when he got them big deals, he took care of his own people. And so he wanted because Detroit was, Detroit is such a powerhouse because we're a music mecca because we had like all the records. You don't see that all in all around the country. We had the most per capita record stores by like 50% across the world.
Goddamn.
You don't see all these back in the day with these records. You didn't see a record store in every corner. You didn't see that nowhere in the world. So they always had to have them. But just working with like Rap a Lot and the different mindset it was, just breaking records because they came from like they had money, but they acted like they were out of the trunk. They act like they was like one fan at a time.
That's so dope though.
Yeah,
and like a lost art.
And unfortunately, I hate dragging his name because we went viral on that last time. But Biggie, man, it wasn't the Biggie you see where everybody wearing the shirts. Biggie was really like, for one, he was a big fella, and of course I sympathize with him. So Biggie was really getting like a lot of his lyrics. It came from hate. Like when people be like, "Oh, you ugly ass motherfucker," he took that and embraced it, and he was, it was always a trend to be a bad. Who don't like big guys?
Like
but he was like, no, I'm just saying it was like.
Was he like a softer person in real life? Was he?
No, he was real. No, Biggie was real, but he just embraced everything, and he didn't know was he gonna be a success.
He didn't know.
Now, he did not know. I'm telling you, because at the time when you talk about the Big Mac thing. The artist Craig Mack, he had a #1 song. That Flavor in Your Ear was on every radio station. MTV was playing it. So you just opposed them, and it was like Craig Mack was blowing, and Biggie was like the street shit he had, and he was like, man, it was so Biggie did not know at all. Biggie was like, and it's even articles you could look at, like he really got his flowers like right after he died. But that's how the record companies bid. The record business is like that. Your first album you don't make shit, then that's what contracts are made to be broken for.
His album released like little after he died, right?
Yeah, his second one. Yeah,
so he didn't even really get a chance to really feel the fame.
He really did. Yeah, right after he died, and he just had, he had singles in between there, but you don't artist's first album, no artist is gonna get. We talked about contracts last time. No artist is gonna get shit. It's not gonna. The first one, but the second one, you start like so you get it's the art of renegotiating.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a couple seconds. When we come back, I'm gonna read some of the comments from our last interview, so you can battle back with some of the comments.
I love that. Yeah. All right.
We did talk about some of the cool marketing strategies for Biggie. It was very interesting when you just told me that he didn't know that he was going to blow up. It seems like a lot of artists kind of like get lost in that sauce. But at that time, hadn't Juicy already been out? Like, had Juicy been out when he was doubting himself still?
Well, yeah, but it was like, if you really look at that Ready to Die, if you listen to it, man, like, I don't want to live no more and give me the loot. I mean, because I had the album, because, unlike nowadays, it's not like you just go into the breakfast show. Like Biggie was literally here in Detroit for a whole week, and I had to go down to the puncher train. I had to, we had to go to the record stores, the radio, and so I would ask him, because we in a van, you in a 15-passenger van for like 7 days. I was like, man, your lyrics were like real. He's like, man, I was living that. He was very honest, and you listen to that album, is if you really listen to it, it's nothing about despair. And when you listen to Juicy, it was like, Puffy was like, man, you on this negative bullshit. Come up with something positive. So in Juicy, he was just talking about success and helping his mom out. He just wanted to switch it up. But most of his records was like very in despair, and it was feeling it. That's how he was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was.
What about when Biggie passes away and everything like that? That's when you kind of see everything explode even more.
He became a deity. Yeah. It became like overnight,
Unfortunately, right? That's kind of how it goes. You do wonder, like, damn, man, does that change everything? Like, if Life After Death had dropped, right, and like he was still alive, would he still be as like big? My uncle always tells me that shit. My uncle always goes like, if Tupac didn't die, he wouldn't be as big as he was, and if Biggie didn't die, he wouldn't have been as big as he was. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they would have. They had fucking slappers.
They had slappers, man. And he literally died on his because we had Hypnotized. And back then, the first song would come out like a month before the album, or maybe even 2 months before the album. So in Detroit, and that's why he did the Detroit Players, because he really felt like, once again, and I hate artists, they don't just get out in the city like it's an old school saying, kiss baby, shake hands. And so he was really feeling the culture here. But man, that record was so huge, like Hypnotized. So he was going places. And then the album, like, I know I talk from marketing. I know you always circle back to the music, which you are right. And the music, you listen to that Life After Death, he just had banger after banger on there.
Yeah, because it's hard for me to listen to somebody that was just marketed super well, but I don't actually enjoy their music.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like, it's hard. I can't think of anybody that was just so in my face that even though the music is bad, I'm still like, damn, man,
right.
Fuck it. I think what marketing does is it just gives exposure for people to know about you and to give you a chance in the first place to listen to you, to fall in love with your personality, your story. Maybe falling in love with their personality and their image makes you fall in love with their music. I've heard that from people time and time again, where it's like, I just looked at the artist. I didn't know his music, but just looking at him, I knew I had a connection with this person, and that made me like the music. And I'll be listening to that same artist. I'm like, that shit's trash. But I guess we all build connections with artists in different ways. There's a multitude of ways that we look at an artist, we listen to an artist, and that's where the connecting point is. And with a marketer, it's just like you're trying to accentuate every single part of that. Like,
right.
Give you the full 360 of what this person is and what part of them you can possibly fall in love with.
Well, yeah, because instantly when I was listening to you, but I instantly think of two people, and I they know they do, and I don't know if I ever meet them. Maybe I will, I'll be ready to knuckle up. But like, you think of NBA YoungBoy and Kevin Gates, they have the most shittiest attitudes. They just don't want to talk to nobody.
Yeah,
you think about it. They don't want it. They come up to them, they'll be ready to fight you like, hey, man, I like your stuff. And you think about that. So, and I'm not really a big fan of their music per se, but the kids love their music, and they do no marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's one of them, and I remember one of the artists I just spoke about. He comes to town, and the record guy like me is like, hey, you in town, and he works at the record company. This artist didn't want to tell him where he was staying at. He was like, like, how I'm gonna take you to the radio station. I don't know who you are.
True.
That's that type of shit. You know what I mean? That's
True.
No, but I'm saying that's hip hop too, though. But I'm just saying, it's like it's like a conundrum, man.
It is wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, but then you got some marketing people that it's just like, then you're right. What's the real music? You know, that's what's the music.
But that's the whole thing of that whole 360. Like your job is to dissect an artist and figure out how you can get an audience to fall in love with each part of that artist. I mean, I guess there are some artists that like I did kind of like, I don't know, like Elvis. I think because Elvis was such a star that when I listen to him, sometimes I'm like, damn, that's fucking Elvis Presley, bro. And I just kind of go like, damn, that's fucking Elvis Presley, bro. But like for real, shit, if he didn't have that history and I heard some of those songs, I'd be like, man, I don't give a fuck about this motherfucker. Like, yeah, a few jams for sure, but rap is. Think about it like this, right? If you did real shit, if you did real dirt, and you're a rapper, nobody ever fucking heard of you. And even if they did heard of you, they didn't give a fuck. But then all of a sudden you did some dirt, and now all of a sudden everybody's fucking with what you said.
Right.
So that's the connecting point out of nowhere. Like your marketing was you going to prison for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then it's like you get out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you really do that shit? Oh, I fuck with your music now.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where like, okay, the sounds didn't matter. It was literally the sounds mattered after the story, which is part of marketing, which is very interesting.
Well, now see, that's where the art of the A&R come in. Okay, so Kid L, say like for instance, I'm president. I keep saying Def Jam and Warner Brothers. I'm gonna say I'm president of Sony Records.
Yeah.
And I hire you as an A&R, right? And you sign, say like for instance, a Kevin Gates, and we give him the whole project is $2 million. That's on your head. So that's like you just brought an apartment, you got a girl, you just brought a car note, you just bought a car. So you got to say, look, Sony just gave my artist $2 million. I'm going to get fired in 6 months if you don't make this happen. So then that's where the head of, wait, we got to come with some producers. And that's what's missing too in music is no responsibility. So just think about that.
Yeah.
If you put Kevin Gates and you controlling that and you didn't put $2 million out,
Yeah.
you got to make sure that baby is gonna come home. You got to make sure, like, because you got a lot riding on it. And with these A&Rs, it's like they not around no more. Record companies don't even really have A&Rs no more, to be honest. And it's like it's no responsibility. They'd just be like, hey, this kid had 1 million views on TikTok. Let's give him $100,000. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I'm going to ask you one of the most debated topics that once was almost fact, but now it's being debated heavily. Is all press good press?
I think so. But once again, when you start talking about, because I literally have an open mind. And like I said, I love the cashed out thing. But when they start bringing the children in and then, the boyfriend comes in, and it's like that's cringeworthy. It is. It's cringeworthy. And I'm just saying, just for me, just being a soul, not like an industry vet, anybody like, that's cringeworthy. So I will say 90% of all press, 90% of press is good press.
90% of press is good press.
Yeah. Because Tupac, man, the press hated him. It would be news stories, and they would just always talk about him. You see what I'm saying?
I would do that too, though, if I was Tupac, because you know what, bro? Like, if my music is that fucking good, I could do almost damn near anything as long as it doesn't break street code or like general ethics of society. Right. Like, go crazy, bro. Spit with it in your fucking Red Wings jersey. Do whatever you want. Go crazy and just. Shit, you're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because the music backs it up. But if you're like somebody who's questionable as an artist, like you're going to build a fan base or whatever, but then you go too far crazy, people are like, you know what, man, I wasn't that into you to fuck with your entire shit. Like, I'm going to back away now. So I want to ask you that too. Like, if you're part of marketing, right, and you're marketing for some of these major guys, when has been times where the artist was reluctant and pushed back on the marketing strategy that you guys were certain would help the artist flourish?
Well, you gotta repeat that one.
When has there been an artist or artists where you guys had a marketing strategy for that particular artist, but they didn't want to do it, but you as a marketing team knew this was the best route to go? But
to be honest with you, this is coming from home, D12. As I was helping with the marketing, because I come from marketing ilk, and I was a manager. The thing about D12, they were all lyricists. you know, from all of them, Bizarre, the Nine, Conniver, Vaughn. I mean, the Nine, Conniver, Vaughn, Swift. They were like bars, like lyricists. They were rap battles. You know, they love the art of hip hop. And then we came with this D12. You know, they created the D12, and it wasn't like it was like homogenized, but we was like having them doing some Purple Hills and going, you know, like really like marketing them like some wild shit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was kind of difficult. You know
Why?
what I mean? Because I mean, Proof was a top-notch MC, and then you had like, you know, you look at the Purple Hills video, and you have the different things, and some people, you know, we heard noise. We weren't blind, or we wasn't deaf, dumb, or blind. We heard people like, oh, you guys are just a one-trick act, or you Eminem boys, and y'all coming with this corny shit. We heard it, but you know, we knew. And you could just tell from their past, D12, all of them was lyricists. They were real lyricists.
Yeah.
And so, and then we was like, hey, you got to do this. And, you know, we had guys coming in Purple Hill suit, you know, in a pill suit at their concerts. You know, you know, they got it, but they really wasn't like, you know.
They felt it was gimmicky.
Yeah, well, they didn't. Yeah, it kind of got to that level to a certain degree, but they knew that, you know, they knew the end goal, what the end goal was. But I mean, coming from them, they were like, you know, it's like taking, you know, symphony orchestra and say, hey, we gotta, you know, in order to get over to Singapore, we gotta like do a song with Mick Jagger. You know, I'm just saying. So I mean, it's almost like, you know, you gotta shake hands with the devil to get out of hell. But it was wild, man. But you know, and we like going back to Karma, it's just a couple of stories that ring out to my mind. It was like we had this song Fight Music. We had put
I remember Fight Music.
We put a shitload. We had like, man, we rented out Coney Island, like not the Coney Island, the ones that we go to. You know, Coney Island is like a Bobolo or like a Cedar Point in New York. And we rented out this Coney Island. So we spent a shitload of money. We even hired this director named Joseph Kahn. He was like, and he doing like crazy ass Asian, I mean, not crazy ass Asian, he doing like Asian movies. He's like a big dog. He didn't direct it. Like he was up for the Academy Award. We had him do the video. Damn. So we spent like maybe like $500,000, and 2 weeks later 9/11 came.
Oh my God.
And one of the song Fight Music, and you listen to it, is wild. And so it was like we got the Nine said something like he's got a bomb taped to his belly, and like Marvin Gaye, let's get it on. I'm kind of paraphrasing. And you know, back in 9/11, all the D12 music was banned on radio stations across America.
Why?
Because of it was a lot of songs. They had a 9/11. No, they had a 9/11 list. You know, because of the temperature and the, you know, and the you know, they just was like, yo, we as America, we healing. We don't want to hear no wild shit to D12. You see what I'm saying? So we didn't. So at the height of, that was our second single off of that album. And we got on a do not playlist.
Wow.
You know, and it got to a point. Now this is where I am going to be the first. And this is Conan O'Brien, when he was on the Tonight Show, he said I was an idiot on his show. But now this is the first, right? We weren't making no money. We were banned, right? And we were doing shows, you know, we were doing like little shows, but it took a hit in our pockets. All of a sudden, this guy named John, and he's gonna kill me because I can't remember his last name, but he was very affluent in the music scene here. He's from here.
Yes.
He calls me up and says, "Hey, I got a show for you guys, and I don't think your booking agent would. I want to talk to you and Rico."
Yes.
He was like, "Man, I got this guy who wants y'all to do a bar mitzvah. And he's gonna pay you guys such and such." It was an extremely crazy number.
Yes.
Extremely. And I took it. And I took the call, but I told my partner Rico at the time, I said, "Man, look, a bar. And Rico's like, man, bar mitzvah, you know D12 would go for it. I was like, and I told him the number. He was like, oh, we got to have a group meeting. So we have a meeting, and we told her the numbers, and they like, look, the guy wants to do this for his family. Matter of fact, I'm still Facebook friends with the son till this day. So, and he says he's willing to come meet us and give us half of the deposit right now in cash.
Yeah.
And this was some some sick ass money. So we say, all right, cool. So we agree to it. Then we say, okay, we're going to do this bar mitzvah as a surprise. His son don't know it. But the guy, he's a serious rich businessman from here. And he wanted to give his son a surprise party. A surprise for his bar mitzvah. He calls me up and he says, man, I told the cat's out the bag. I told my wife, and she said, oh, they're not performing at our son's, because it was going to be at a country club, and D12 was going to perform 2 songs and just shake hands and take pictures. And so he says, man, my wife says absolutely not. I was like, well, I tell you what, breaking news, we're not giving that deposit back.
Damn.
And we will show up because we will show up because we want our money. And he said, man, you know what, you're right. So he said, all you guys got to do is just show up and we'll give you the agreed upon money.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, cool. So he said, but look though, we got to do it private. Because because it was at I forgot the country club. It was out, I think, in Farmington Hills or something. And he said, I'm gonna give you the cash, but you guys gotta keep it private. So, man, at the time our office was in Highland Park. So these 2 big stretch limousines came and picked us up.
Yeah.
And we went to the thing. And it was crazy. It was a surprise. The kid was happy, everything was cool. Now, we didn't notice at the time, but it's a guy by the name of Gary Graff. He's a writer. Now, his daughter was at the thing. It was at the bar mitzvah. And she comes home and said, Daddy, D12 was there. He was like, what? They weren't there. So I had a relationship with Gary Graff. Gary Graff says, Mark, did y'all do a bar mitzvah? I was like, yeah, Gary, we did it, man. It's after 9/11. We was on a do not play radio list, and MTV was even giving us hell. I was like, yeah, we took the money. He said, all right. At first, he just said, it was joking because he already had my number, and we did interviews with him. Man, the next day, he posted, he was working at the Free Press. He posted, and then it went to USA Today covered it, and then CNN covered it, and then I was probably on some date. My mom called me and said, Mark, your name, unless it's another Mark Hicks and another, she was like, this guy just called you an idiot on the Tonight Show. And I said, what? And he was like, and he made a joke when, they did the monologue. He said, yeah, D12. And it was like, man, till this day, you can put Mark Hicks and Bar Mitzvah on Google. Story still comes up.
For real?
Yes.
It's over right now. It's a
No, literally. And so I'm one of the first managers to book a bar mitzvah.
I want to break down this part
in rap. Now that's that's the first. Yeah, you could do it. I want to put Mark Hicks, and you could even put D12 bar mitzvah, and it's still like ABC News stories. It's still up there.
So Conan O'Brien show, they go over the fact that D12 performed at a bar mitzvah. Why did he call you stupid? Did he say your name specifically?
No, he was like no. It got to a point, and I gotta say this, Interscope hated me. That's what, and it goes back to Interscope, the record companies was like, what the fuck did you do this for? Because what happened, USA Today called me.
Yeah.
And everybody was already like, fuck. The record companies had me on a dartboard because they like, this is bad. But then USA Today, they called me, and MTV called me. And they said, well, look, man, you already out here, so can you give us a quote? Because Gary Graff said, he mentioned my name. And so I said, hey, we the such and such family and it's gonna get out here now because it's in the article. If people look, they said such and such family said that, and I said, yeah, they did, and they gave D12 a nice donation to the D12 Inc. That was our corporation. And so Conan O'Brien, so even on MTV was like, I think their headline was rap group walks into a bar mitzvah. So they was it was, and it was kind of lighthearted. Interscope hated me. I think still to this day, some of them hate me because they're like, Mark, you did, that's bullshit. Bar. But, so basically it was a little bit of fun in America because we had just got out of 9/11 and we talking about 2001, and it was rare to, now everybody's doing bar mitzvahs now. But back then it was like a rap group, especially a Eminem rap group, is doing a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
That was we talking about 24 years ago.
Yeah.
And that shit was crazy. So it was like they were making fun of it. CNN was like, CNN was on some wild shit. CNN was like, we want to fly in and we want to interview all you guys. We was like, now that's where it got to the level. Like, but USA Today and I think maybe MTV and BET, they just wanted like a phone quote. But they was like, CNN was talking about, well, man, we wanted like flying, but it was like for a week, it took on its own legs.
And the thing about Interscope being mad at you guys is like, it was a great thing, obviously, in retrospect. Like in the long term, it was a great play.
That was good marketing because D12 was always, and you listen to the album, because I was telling like some of the guys there, I was like, dude, now at the time, they had like fucking, Premise, they had, No Doubt, and I got, because I was taking a lot of flack, and I said, like, motherfucker, have you listened to the D12 album? This ain't like Weezer or like or Nirvana, because that's, we was on, this ain't like, no, dude, we're D12. You listen to the album, an artist, it kind of fits the criteria to do some shit, So
did Eminem come to the bar mitzvah?
No, he didn't. No, this was definitely not. No. This was some shit like. Now that's where it's church and state. This had Paul and them didn't, and Paul, it was my brother, but he was like, Mark, what the fuck are you doing?
How much money are we talking here, man? It was 20 years ago. You can't tell us the number of like how much the guy was willing to pay you guys.
It was in the low sixes.
Damn, son. D12 was worth that for
two songs? It was like
for 2 songs?
Dude, it was like, no, but you gotta understand, we were breaking barriers because we didn't know it wasn't no comparables. It wasn't comparative.
You couldn't get somebody else, like you couldn't get somebody else basically. Like, it's impossible.
And this family, and I don't want them to, but they're very successful. And he just said something, and once again the intermediary was like, I don't want to blame. He was like, look, man. He was like, we were on territories that wasn't covered.
Yeah, this is new.
And so, because man, you take it, CNN and MTV and Conan O'Brien is covering it, and this is before social media, so it was serious. So so he just said like that 6-digit number was no problem.
Did you in your mind know like Interscope relax, this was great for us? Did you know that? Like
I thought of me at the time. I was contributing to my parents, and as a manager back then, I don't know how it is now. I guess it is that now you had a quota to make every month for the artist.
Did that hurt the business?
What you mean?
When you got after the bar mitzvah?
It loved it. It was crazy.
It helped everybody, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying though, I'm thinking that, I'm just throwing a number out, that each member, you gotta, in order for them to be happy, they've gotta make like $20,000
a month. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, Rico and we thinking of our quota. It's like it's not contractual, but that you can't just be like, oh, we just sitting around in a month, because it even fucked up my personal relationships. I was engaged, man, and I was so concentrated on making money for them that it kind of hurt.
It's tough, man.
My engagement, because she wanted to do the, she knows, she probably watched my other one, but I just, when I was getting engaged, I was engaged, and she wanted to do wedding party, like all this, and I'm like, I got a number to come up with every month. Well, I should say we did, because it was a management team, Rico and I, and so we always had to keep it in the back. We couldn't just be like, oh, I'm just chilling for the month. Or I want to go to, I just want to go to Brazil and chill. No, you had to make money it was like the mob. You had to make that fee.
Yeah.
And then I had my parents I was looking out for, and so I mean it was like so I was thinking of the numbers. It was more about like, making the money.
It's so crazy that D12 was blacklisted from radio stations at that time during the rollout.
No, but you know what? And this is, that's what I love about your show, man. Even when I'm not, I watch it, I get educated by your show, man. And this was like, if you look up 9/11 record blacklist, it was like 100, like anything like that one girl, 99 Balloons. She had it was like even 80s music that was like talk about war. I think even YouTube, because YouTube used to dibble and dabble in war songs. Like they took all of them records off the radio.
Wow, man.
And we was,
but this is during D12's rollout though.
No, because our D12 Devil's Night came out June of 2001.
Yeah.
And 9/11 happened, so
not the rollout, but the post.
Yeah. So
marketing.
our album came out in June of 2001, and 9/11 happened September 2001.
And then that's when you guys got blacklisted from the radio stations. That's crazy, man. You must have been hurtful. Like, damn, son. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, and then back then it wasn't no YouTube, it wasn't no Instagram. It was like literally you just had MTV, BET. And and
your plate was loaded, man. Your plate was like, oh, I gotta figure out. I got a fucking whole like clog right here. I gotta figure out other outlets to fucking market you guys. Basically, it's very difficult. That's when I would probably look at Eminem more and be like, all right, you gotta help us out, motherfucker. Because
he helped, but but it was like,
why wouldn't what was? And I know there's a certain point where there was a disconnect where like you're not communicating directly with Marshall anymore or anything like that, but you could see like a long time coming of Eminem disassociating from the group to some degree, right?
Well, no, but in them times, them were golden times. Everybody was cool. I mean, but
what I'm saying is like, was there times where like D12 needed help and it's like but like Paul and Eminem were like, it just doesn't make sense for us to do that right now?
No, I tell you, man, the biggest disconnect was really when Proof died, man. Yeah. That suffered, and then too, I'm not gonna gloss over it. Rico and I got fired or let go, in between D12 world, because we was over the beginning of, we managed D12 from the very beginning. And Devil's Night, and then midway when we was working on the second album, it just was a disagreement. It just was like we just got, things fell apart, and so their second album, but they had a new management team, but I will say that Em and Paul, they always it was always resourceful, but I tell you, that Proof died. And even like Bizarre said, the Nine said, I mean, everybody, that's not like a hidden fact, because Proof was like the heart of D12. And once that went, it just, then M like just tailspin into other different, just different things. And it just was like, it was just crazy.
It's insane, man. Literally insane. With your mindset right now about the new era of promoting yourself, people are doing self-promotion, the accessibility and marketability is there because of the fact that we have social media platforms and whatnot. What do you think the future is for marketing? How relevant do you think A&Rs are? How relevant do you think marketing teams are moving forward for the independent?
It's gotta be, we talked about a little bit, not on camera, but it's got to be an umbrella of different things. Because like I said, my brother, Ducky, UNDC, he had the EA Sports Connect. We got to literally, like, it's got to be an umbrella of platforms that help breaking artists. Because what people don't understand is two things. It's like the record companies they let go of, during this year and last year, they let go of 70% of their staff. Literally, they did, because all you really got is product managers, presidents. It's really like a skeleton.
Yeah.
So you don't have that. You don't have that power of the record, the power of the record company. And so you gotta like really, really, really hone in and just like it's gotta be a community that helps break a record.
Yes.
Because like I got like I'm gonna have up north he is gonna be primarily a radio show on Shade 45.
Amazing.
But we gotta have something where Kid L, so it's gonna be like Kid L's doing interviews. We're gonna have the up north heat, and up north heat is gonna be nothing but Michigan artists. For the future right now, we're not doing nothing but R&B, rap, whatever. We might have some accordion Michigan motherfuckers on there. We gotta live in an ecosystem where a rap, Detroit Rap Daily, Detroit All Access, Crime in the D, a Metro Detroit News. We all are platforms, and we all and as a manager and as an artist, we gotta create this ecosystem.
Yes.
And so that's where it's gotta it's and all that hating and all that it's gotta stop. It is getting better.
We're all talking, like all the media platforms. We all talk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
we keep it. Even the hip hop lab and me. It took we were friends early on. Then we had like a fallout. Then we got back together.
Right.
And now we're all at the point where it's like, yo, let's. I got you. You got me. I got you. You got me. And everybody's talking finally. Are you gonna be able to come back when the?
Oh sure, it's
drops?
gonna be for sure. Yeah, man. But. It's an umbrella of, and it was this one more. It was like I was just watching the news where like, and that's why all these companies like, all these companies are like going out of, like just like they like ESPN is buying up everything because these advertising agencies like, look, we're not paying Sports Center no more. We're gonna give it to that little TikTok girl in Arizona who's tap dancing on water or doing backflips in her grandma's backyard. They'd rather cut a check to them. And you notice how like Coca-Cola and all them, they're like, why are we gonna do a television show on, because it's called linear television, the ones that where you back in the day where, hey, we're gonna watch the Cosby Show at 8:00. That's linear television. That's what the ad agencies say. Why are we gonna pay that? Why are we gonna pay you guys $100,000 to of a television show that comes on at NBC when we could like just spread that out to social media influencers or stars? So yeah, man. So it's like it's really so it's gotta be something where agencies work together and and divvy up money to break artists.
We all dry out.
Exactly.
Everybody's gonna dry up. And that's all it is. I thought of this quote a long time ago, but I always say that people would rather sink the ship than give up the captain's seat. And that's just what it is. It's like everything's falling apart, and it's like, man, I know if I just do this and help everybody out, we'll make it, but I can't, and it all crashes out.
Well, when it crashes out, I'm gonna go work for Cash Down Nail Technician.
I'm with you on that.
I'm on. I'll
be pedicures, manicures.
Yeah, DM me. Your DM kid. We working for you.
Sure. Mark Hicks, man. Before you drop your new segment, man. I know you said late this month or early next month. Please come back one more time for us, man.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
I know you're a busy man, but I love these stories, and the world loves these stories too, man.
Oh man.
The legendary Mark Hicks was in the building. We're at Parallel Sound Studio. How Visual Shootings Productions. We're out. Peace.